And we're live. Paul Revere Radio, guys. I'm Matt. You know that. Chris and Ricky.
Berardi?
Hey, how's it going?
Guys, I have to say, it's amazing how many Facebook sessions we can get going in one studio. We've got 3 going at the moment.
Well, if it's not on Facebook, it didn't happen, right?
I don't know. I mean, Facebook seems to be the new media center of choice. It's where so many people get their
Everybody
news
goes
today.
to Facebook.
I know.
And if it's on Facebook, it has to be true.
And if you don't check your Facebook every 10 minutes, there's something wrong with you, right?
If that's true, then we are in way worse trouble than even I thought.
We are in trouble.
So, guys, we've got a pretty jam-packed show today. We're going to be talking about, obviously, Nelson Mandela. We're going to be talking about, did you know that China wants to make a Death Star out of the moon? I thought that was kind of interesting.
In reference to what?
Well, I think
what's a Death Star, Matt? Go ahead.
You and your Star Wars things. This guy is obsessed with Star Wars. I think he's the biggest nerd I know. Lots of love for you, Ricky. We're also going to be talking about some really dangerous things in Iran right now. Why do I keep saying Iraq?
You do? I don't know, because you've had like 8 or 10 years of training on that.
I know. Everything's about Iraq, and now Iraq means nothing. And yeah. Okay. I think we're also going to talk about this whole minimum wage thing. And
going to talk some minimum wage, going to talk some
Yeah.
Obamacare, because it's been 2 weeks since we've been on the show, so a lot's happened in 2 weeks. Or well, actually, not much has happened, but a lot of news has happened.
Yeah, there's been a lot of things. Yeah, I'm amazed at, you go talk to people, they're all for a $15 minimum wage, and they don't understand economics at all.
Are we starting with that?
I mean, well, we can. Why not? Why
All
not?
right, sure.
Well, we'll go ahead and start with minimum wage because, I've talked to several people. They're all for the minimum wage increase. They have no idea that Congress is all set to pass a double on the gas tax.
What's the minimum wage right now?
85? Is it 785?
No, I think it's like 7. I don't
775, 775.
Yeah, 7 something.
But they want to bump it up to 15.
They want to bump it up to 15.
Well,
that's what the protests.
There were
are for.
protests about 100 cities around the country that
Really?
wanted
Well,
to.
it was fairly large, and like I said, the problem I have is that they don't understand anything. They don't know about the TPP, which I'm going to talk about a little bit today. They don't know about the transatlantic partnership, the things that basically make NAFTA and GATT look like child's play. Also, all rolled up into the Trans-Pacific Partnership is CISPA and PIPA and all the things that we fought so hard to prevent. And it's completely secret. And the only thing we know about the TPP is what they've leaked, because all the
What's the TPP?
The Trans-Pacific Partnership.
Okay.
It's Obama's pet project, but nobody's allowed to know anything about it. It's completely, all the negotiations are completely secret. The only thing we do know...
Sounds like Obamacare.
Yeah. The only thing that we do know is that corporations and governments both get equal say. And then they both get to pick a representative, an extra representative for their side. So in other words, we've now put corporations at the same level as nations. Now, does anybody else see a problem here?
Well, wait, are we still tying this to minimum wage?
Yes, we are.
Okay.
Absolutely tying this to minimum wage.
Obviously, there's some huge problems with that.
Yeah. And this is my main problem. You want to raise minimum wage. At the same time, you want to raise the gas tax, double the gas tax is what they're talking about right now in Congress.
Right.
This is at the federal level, right?
Yeah, this is at the federal level. Okay. So what the hell good is raising the minimum wage going to do? I mean, obviously you're talking about, instead of, $1.35 for a burger, now you're going to be paying like $3 for a burger.
Well, I mean,
well, that's all part of inflation too.
It's clearly a protest and a movement and an idea by people who have never run anything, never owned a business, don't know
well, that's right,
the first clue about what they're doing.
That's right, but enough of them will get their...
Well, here's what happens when that happens. It's not just that your prices go up, because there is a limit to what someone's going to pay for a Big Mac.
Mm-hmm.
So here's what happens, and it's there's a couple things to say about this, but the first is just from that economics aspect. And I'm going to use this as a comparison. I'm going to use McDonald's. They went on a hiring binge in the United States here over the last year. They've added 62,000 employees McDonald's wide across the United States. In Europe, right now, the same fast food chain, McDonald's, has bought 7,000 touch-screen kiosks to handle cashiering duties. For all of you that are out there calling for a raise in the minimum wage to $15, guess what? You're going to be out of a job because you're going to be replaced by a machine. And it's going to be more efficient. The machines don't take sick days. They don't call in. They don't take vacation. We're not going to have to put them under Obamacare. And they'll probably speak clearer English. So, you keep pushing that minimum wage up and see who's left with a job at the end of the day. There was another study that was done this week that I read about. I don't have it here, but it was a study done in England that, based on United States jobs, 47% of U.S. jobs could be replaced by automation. Could be. The study didn't say it would happen, but theoretically, 47% could be replaced.
Eventually it will.
So keep pushing that minimum wage there, Libs, because you're going to see jobs not just trickle away, but just be gone in an instant. Unless you're in the machine building industry, then you might be in good shape.
And let me just say this. The more I study economics, and you guys know that I'm kind of a freak when it comes to studying. I can't learn enough. I'm always constantly absorbing stuff. And the more I study economics, the more Austrian I get. The more laissez-faire I get. So
you focus more on Austrian economics? I'm just curious. I mean,
do you even know what Austrian economics means?
Well, I mean, you got your Keynesian, got your
yes.
and you've got your classical.
Classical. You've also got empirical.
Right.
And yes,
depending on what you were taught in school, I mean, a lot of people only know those two.
Well, Austrian economics is laissez-faire. It's free market.
Okay.
And the more I study, the more I understand that regulations do nothing to prevent monopolies. They actually make monopolies happen.
So what is the whole difference between those three?
Well, Keynesian economics basically is the idea that the government can somehow create jobs. It completely throws out the thought that government only has what it steals through taxation and other less than ethical means. And therefore, the only jobs that it can create are the ones that it prevented in the first place.
What about classical?
Classical economics, well, there's not really a classical economics. It's more of a mix of laissez-faire, Keynesian, and empirical. Empirical economics is very closely related to Keynesian. The government has a lot of control. The laissez-faire, which is where more and more I go to, I mean, I used to say, okay, we need to have some control. More and more I'm saying we need free markets because it's never even been tried. And common sense dictates that if you've got corporations that basically own our government, can we at least agree to that by now? With special interest in
especially today, yeah.
Yeah. So if we've got these major corporations that basically own our government, and our government is supposed to regulate corporations, how in the hell is that supposed to work?
Okay, the closest we've come to that style of economics has been in modern era in the U.S. has been under Calvin Coolidge, who was probably your first libertarian president, if you want to.
Yeah.
And we flourished during Coolidge's presidency.
The less and guys, I used to be all for bringing back the Glass-Steagall Act, things like that. They broke up, antitrust laws basically. The problem I have now with that is that I've come to the understanding that, you know what, if you got rid of the regulation to begin with, then we wouldn't have a problem with these massive banks because nobody would use their notes. Okay? If you don't like this bank, if you don't like the Federal Reserve, well, you know what? Then get together and start your own economy with your own currency, and that's fine. That's the way it needs to be. Competition in the market, competition in the currency is going to bring all the prices down, going to bring productivity up. Competition always solves a problem. Not minimum wage, not all these regulations that we pile on top of everything. I mean, all you're doing is bolstering. Guys, there is no such thing as a free market anymore. We don't have. This is not even crony capitalism anymore. The second you say that a bank is too big to fail, that's the moment that you've moved into fascism. We have a fascist market now. Yeah,
that was never a good idea. There's a couple other things that go with the minimum wage thing, and the first is in regards to these protests. Just to focus on those, a good deal of those protesters were being paid by the unions.
Oh yeah.
$75 a day, some of the things I've heard. But so they weren't really out there protesting. I mean, they're probably too lazy to go get a job, let alone actually go protest something. So, they had to be paid to go do that. So it's really not the big uprising that the media may portray it as. And the other part of that is, since when did flipping a burger become a career? Do you know too many people who say, who would tell their grandkids, thinking back to your childhood, or do you know too many people who said, my grandpa worked 20 years flipping burgers at McDonald's before he got the gold watch?
I'm not gonna say that. I knew somebody growing up that actually is still working at McDonald's, worked there since they were 15 years old, and to this day they're still working there in management. Actually, I think he's probably the owner. But there's a lot to be said about the fact that he still held the same job for all these years. I mean, it's been well over 10 years, 15. Gosh, how long have I been out of school and high school? But the thing is that he's been
old fart.
Yeah, he. I mean, I remember like maybe a year ago I went in there and my brother worked there right in high school, and he's still working there. I went in there maybe a year ago and he's still working there.
No, but there's a difference.
And the thing is, I mean, I'm going to just say that hard work pays off.
Yeah.
And I mean, you don't have to necessarily be liking what you're doing, and maybe you have another avenue to take. But at the same time, you can really flourish in any job. It doesn't matter if it's minimum wage at $7 an hour or $5 an hour, for that matter.
That's the whole idea. The whole idea is to use a minimum wage job to gain skills to get to the next level. And
here's a better idea.
Let me just
go ahead.
So what you're saying? Somebody started working as a burger flipper at McDonald's.
Oh yeah, he was a burger flipper. Yeah.
And now they may own a franchise.
Right.
Well, that's the way it's supposed to work.
Worked up the chain. Yeah.
You don't continue to badger people for higher minimum wage.
You work hard.
You use your skills. You gain more skills, and you advance up the ladder.
The harder you work, the more it pays off. And I mean, I think in any avenue and any position you take in life, if you work hard enough, you get recognized, you get noticed, and you get rewarded for it.
Let's look at it this way, though, guys. What if we got rid of minimum wage altogether? And I know everybody freaks out about that. But if you get rid of minimum wage, I would wager that, probably half the jobs out there would actually pay more. Okay? Because when you give them it's just like, if you ever had a car wash back when you were in high school, if you put a minimum on there, that's what you got paid. But if you put donations, hell, half the time you got a $20 bill.
That's very true.
So get rid of the minimum wage, and also, if you do get rid of all the regulations, you're working at McDonald's flipping Whoppers, or I guess is that McDonald's or
no? That's Burger King.
I don't eat fast food. Okay, so anyway,
but no, you have a point there. I mean, if we were to eliminate the minimum wage, I think a lot of people would probably go, okay, I'm going to live in my means.
How about this
I'm not going to be high maintenance. I'm not going to spend the things I need to spend. I don't need to get the fancy gadgets that I got. I don't have to pay for a nice fancy low ride, like these kids that are souping up their cars these days. They got a big subwoofer in their trunk. They've got high profiles. They've got everything. They're living beyond their means because they want the nice things and they want to look good. But at the same time,
let's make it
it's
real
that
easy.
Society that we live in.
Let's make it real easy to get rid of the minimum wage, because you know what? Workers become in much higher demand when you take away the regulations. And you know what? If they want to start a business, there's no need to have a license. Just go earn your money.
Well, it's like fishing. Why do I need a permit to fish?
Well,
why do I need a permit for anything, for that matter? If it's as long as it's for survival, right? So if I'm going to go
even
hunting,
if it's not.
if I'm going to go shoot a deer during season, why do I need a permit to shoot a deer? Why do I need a permit to fish?
Well, it comes down to that gets
survival,
a lot deeper. Now you're turning rights into privilege, and it's it's really the same thing. You have a right to earn a living. However you have a right to try to earn a living. Let me rephrase that. Okay? However that you have to do that, as long as you're not hurting anyone else in the process. And therefore, by making you get a business license, you're turning the right of trying to earn a living into a privilege.
I'm going to turn this quickly to something else real quick, and it kind of reminded me of adverse possession. When we were talking about real estate, if you've been on a property for 7 years and you haven't been noticed through the government for 7 years and staying in that house, you can actually own that house. Am I right? I mean, you're the real estate agent, but
in theory, yeah.
In theory, yeah. And I think it worked. Actually, it was in the news like last year
in
where
Chicago,
some guy was living.
squatters law.
There was a guy living in somebody's house. I mean, granted, nobody was living in the house at the time, but
Right.
then he was there for well over 7 years, and he's like, okay, now I own this. I mean, I don't know. I mean, there's so many gaps in laws, and there's so many things that we don't really necessarily need, like you were just saying before. But I mean, why do we need all of these regulations? Why do we need all these laws when it's not necessary?
Well, I mean, we don't, but we have people that go up to Washington or go to their state house or town council or city council and just have this tremendous desire and need to help people. Well, rather than make it easy for them to do business by reducing restrictions and regulations,
That's really helping, yeah.
That's helping.
Right.
No, they would rather say, oh, these people flipping burgers have got to have more money. They've got to be able to live, and they shouldn't have to live in poverty.
Right.
So we need to raise them in much. And that's how so many laws
But
come
you know,
into
here's the
effect
thing,
and
when you're-
regulations. It's all
when you're
mostly from well-intentioned people who just have no idea
But Chris,
and
here's
no
the thing.
concept
A lot
about
of the
what really
politicians,
works.
it doesn't matter what party you're in. A lot of these politicians will create these regulations and then later down the road decide they want to fight against the same regulations that they formed, they created.
Quick question to the viewers here. Who is the Ustreamer on here? I want to know, because if you know about squatters' rights, you actually know something. And that's that's rare. So
How is that
identify
rare?
yourself.
Our audience knows more than the average.
Well, if you know about squatters' rights, that's something that not even well-educated people know most of the time. So
Is it Lisa? I'm guessing it's Lisa.
it might be. I wouldn't. Is it Lisa?
Well, we'll call her. I mean, we just called her out or somebody out. So hopefully,
I don't know.
they
Though,
up there.
the F word hasn't scrolled across the screen yet, so it may not be. I don't know.
All right.
Well, she hasn't gotten riled up yet.
I
So
will stick up for Lisa. This is Kara, by the way. The
No,
couple
it's the
times that
ghost
she's been
of
on
the studio.
Mrs. Producer.
Yes,
the couple times that Lisa's been on the show, she's been very good with watching her mouth.
that's true.
That's true. That's
Yeah.
true. But we haven't gotten her riled
Hopefully,
up
we're
yet.
going to get her calling in again today. So.
You know what? You know
Okay.
what? I need to get a bleep button, because if she calls in,
How can you predict a cuss word?
I don't know.
I don't think you can.
I'll have to have it for myself.
You
is
can
what
you
I'm
can you can
saying.
beep it afterward.
You know
It's a
how
little
much
late
easier.
then, isn't it?
Yeah.
You know how much easier this show would be if I could bleep myself when I wanted to.
That'd be cool.
It would help
actually.
us too.
Yeah.
By bleeping you, I mean.
So
Well, I suggested that our first show, if you remember, I said maybe we should have some of this right next to me so I can turn down the microphone so I can make my point. Because, you know what I'm saying?
Were
Remember
we a
when I
little?
used to
Is
say-
Were we a little
i-
over talking?
is he whining again?
Yes.
I'm
it
whining.
is.
That's right.
Yeah.
I just don't have a wine
the
glass
fiddle.
next
Get
to
the
me.
violin out. There we go.
Okay. Well, have we exhausted minimum wage?
You know,
I think we've made fools
think
out of them.
so. I
by
think
now.
Yeah, it's Lisa.
sometimes I hope that some of these laws get passed, because it will, just like Obamacare, it will show the libs that we were wrong. Oh, now we have to backpedal. Anyway, I'm done with that.
Okay.
All right.
Well, let's go ahead and get this over with, because it's all. I think there's going to be a fight in the chat room if we don't get this over with. I'm going to, guys. I did not. I knew the story, but I didn't know all the details about Nelson Mandela. So I spent the past couple days researching, and I was actually up till 2 a.m. researching last night. And there's two camps, and really only two camps. Either you absolutely love them, or you absolutely hate them. And to be honest with you, both camps are absolutely wrong. Okay? The guy absolutely should not be immortalized as Martin Luther King. My God, he should not be compared to George Washington, as Obama has done several times. But on the other hand, he did do some great things, and he should be remembered, and lessons should be taken from him. So one of the lessons is that people's minds change, guys. The guy grew up in, well, from what I understand, again, a couple nights research, I don't think he actually was the son of of a chief in Africa. He was raised by the chief, and therefore, kind of like a a stepson and was being being groomed for leadership. He was very much an ideologue. He came up and did a lot of things that I completely disagree with. He was absolutely a communist when he was growing up. He did start a so-called terrorist organization. They weren't very good at what they did, to be honest. Yeah. They weren't real effective, and they got him thrown in jail. But when he was in jail for 27 years, and he had a change of heart. And this is when he came out of jail, he was all about peace. And that I can respect. Now, people get all up in arms saying that he would not renounce violence, and that's why he stayed in jail. And to a point, you're right. But in all the research, I came to understand what his point there. It was not that he necessarily condoned the violence. It's that he was not going to, he
wasn't going to give up any of his rights.
He wasn't going to give up his rights. He wasn't, he wasn't going to subvert his cause and lean to the government that was, he was fighting the apostate. And that should be, that he should go down in history for that. Absolutely. And when he got out, he was no longer strictly a communist. He actually got somewhat, co-opted by the big global companies, which is why, in my opinion, a lot of the, even though communism is obviously wrong, in my opinion, he got co-opted by the globalist companies, and therefore South Africa is actually worse off economically than it was under apostate.
Apartheid.
Yeah, apartheid. Yeah, whatever. See, I've been talking to too many people. I get things mixed up. So, yeah, apartheid.
I know what you meant.
You're absolutely right. Sorry about that, guys. But he did kill. He was the key figure to kill apartheid. Thank God for that. Hold him up for that. But guys, remember, it's not about the person. It's about the idea. Okay, the idea of equality is great as long as it's equality as a person and not necessarily equality in situation. Because once you start, trying to make everybody equal on every playing field, well, then you don't bring anybody up. You bring everybody down.
Equal opportunity.
Yeah, equal opportunity, not equal result. That's exactly right. But I will say this. The stuff that I don't agree with, I think the police state that we've talked about so many times should take notice of. What's the question?
We'll get to that.
So flags at half-staff for Mandela, but not Thatcher. Please explain.
I didn't say I approved of flags at half-staff. I don't. Like I said, I don't think he should be raised to that level. I think he should be learned.
I'm sorry, these leaders are not American leaders. So I mean, if something like
there's that.
I can understand some figures, but at the same time, it's like Thatcher.
No, I don't think there should have been flags at half-staff for Thatcher, because that is something that is reserved for American leadership. You're right. Things that have, like flags at half-staff for MLK. Yes, he was not in the government, but he was a leader here in America.
Right.
So absolutely. You don't you don't fly the flag at half-staff for a foreign dignitary. That's subversive. So
maybe in their own country.
Well, yeah, absolutely. In his country, great.
Yeah.
He was a leader of South Africa. Wonderful. Fly him at half-staff there.
So look, we've no secret we've disagreed from time to time on things, but not this time. Yeah, I think what you said is pretty accurate.
Well, I want to add one thing here. Like I was saying before the question, I want the police state to take notice, because while I do not agree with the violence, there was a turning point when the police state turned on its people. And if we see another Kent State or we see another Waco or something like that, I hope that it wouldn't happen. But I do truly believe that that America's been pushed to that point, and the people will react.
There's a good point that was brought up. The flags were not lowered half-staff during the Benghazi attack.
Oh, that's absolutely right, and that's wrong.
And they were Americans, so
that's wrong.
Why can't we?
Let's first come to the real problem with that, is that you actually have to have a president who cares and who actually believes something wrong happened there. And we have a president that's just in complete denial.
Well,
that
we have
Benghazi
a president that pays
anything.
more attention to what goes on overseas than he cares about what goes on in his own country.
Well, he pays more attention to Jay-Z and Beyonce than he does to Benghazi.
Apologizing all the time
for
what we've done in the past.
Guys, None of this matters as long as his golf game score is better.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Okay, so, you know.
And it's fun. I mean, he didn't even go to Thatcher's funeral, but yet he's going to South Africa for Mandela's funeral.
Well,
Well, listen, I'm going to agree with you on Mandela and say, the man was no saint. He's not Mother Teresa.
Even he said he wasn't a saint.
Right.
And I think he should be revered for what happened later on in his
The
life.
thing
Exactly. I was just going to say that. I mean, you got to
thing-
pay more attention to things that he did after he got out of prison.
The thing I think he did right after he got out of prison was avoid the urge to create revenge and violence as the nation came out of segregation or apartheid. So
held back the people.
I mean, that was pretty big because it could have gone in a very bloody direction had he not done that. So that was some good stuff. But before prison, was he a good guy? No, probably not.
Well, even he says he
think-
wasn't, and that's my
Right.
point. Even after he got out of prison, even he admitted that that he did a lot of things that were wrong, and I think
Right.
that should be acknowledged. And I
Absolutely.
think he should be revered, but not as much as we've seen. We've seen on TV. I mean, he's worshipped like a god
Right.
in the
I mean,
media right now.
This one comment here. So if we rise up with violence and overthrow the government, that's different than one person running a revolution against his own country to gain equal rights. I mean,
Well, like I said, I don't approve of the violence. I'm saying I understand where it came from, but I don't approve. Okay, as long as you can, there does, just as happened in the American Revolution, which was a little different, but there does come a point where violence is necessary. I think we're far from that. And I don't think they were at that point yet. I think that Mandela was young, and he was full of hubris and acted a little too quickly. But he should be revered especially for what happened later on in his life. I really want to emphasize that he did only serve one term.
Right.
He stepped down, and that should be revered.
exactly.
And he took a lot of that from what I've read in my research. He took a lot of that and a lot of his leadership after prison while he was president. He took a lot of that from our American founders.
Oh, absolutely.
That's where he got many of his ideas, including only serving.
Yeah,
He
but
was-
no, wait. But today we have a lot of people that are
He
in office that will sit Congress, Senate, whatever.
Hold on.
Founders.
He
That don't-
absolutely-
I'm only talking about the
Yeah.
founders.
In the county commission level, even at the local level, people want to sit up there for 30 years.
Here's the deal. He absolutely despised modern day America. Can't say he was 100% off with our government the way it is today. Okay? But he revered the founding of this country. He studied that while he was in prison, and that's what brought him around. This is why I think he should be revered. He should be remembered. He should be learned from. But lessons should be taken from his early life, because he's a case study for social engineering and what actually happens when the people are pushed to the breaking point.
Right.
That's what happened. The people were pushed to their breaking point. They were led by a communist at that point, which is bad. And that's, but the people were pushed to their breaking point. Things happen. I don't approve, like I said, but I understand why it happened, because I'm a student of history here. Okay? So that's why I say this should be a warning to our government and the globalists at large, because like we agreed earlier, most of our government is now run by corporations. So they should take heed here, because if you want to see that happen here, you're on the right path. Okay. Have we exhausted Nelson Mandela? Can we
Yeah, I
move
think
on?
I'm done.
Okay. All right. I want to know what you think about the Iranian deal.
Who? Me?
You, because I know we're going to disagree. We talked about this a little before off air.
We have had
So
exactly
first of all, before you
30
get into-
minutes.
Before you get into that, you should explain what the Iranian deal is.
We're about to.
All right,
Go
here,
ahead.
get into the details.
We've had exactly 30 minutes of kumbaya here on the show, and I think that's probably about to change.
Absolutely. So I have been heated about this. I have been ready to explode. And I will do. I promise the viewers, I will do everything I can to keep cool And
Well,
if I start yelling, I will try to back off them.
Well, let's not have any Real Housewives kind of skits. No, don't flip the table or anything.
No, I've got too much expensive equipment in here to.
Do we have this nailed down? Is it glued to the floor? Are we okay?
No, but go ahead.
So bad deal for America. Benjamin Netanyahu is right. It's a bad deal.
Okay, but why?
Well, explain the deal.
The deal is that the Iranian government will destroy any centrifuge that is capable of enriching uranium past 5%. So, why is
Which
that?
They don't have the capability to do yet anyway, so they're not really destroying anything.
How
They're
do you know
not
they
really
don't have the
giving up anything.
Wait. How do you know they don't have the capability to do that?
It's been
He's
reported.
psychic.
It's been proven.
So you're believing your sources. I mean,
He's psychic.
Well, that's not my sources. That's not like I
This is your
interviewed some
opinion?
guy on the street in Cape Coral.
Okay, well, let me ask you where you're coming up with your conclusion.
This is interesting. Usually, I'm the one getting all this.
Well, these are the studies that have shown. You want me
The
to cite them all? The
Okay,
studies,
well, I
yeah.
mean, where did you read these studies? I'm sorry. I just want to know.
I've
where
read
you're
them
coming
several
up with your
different
conclusion.
sources.
That's
We've
what
seen
I
them
want
on
to
the
know.
news. We've read them, seen them on the news.
Same thing with Matt. I would ask Matt the same question.
Right.
And
just
so
wanna
would
know.
Chris.
So that's our intelligence assessment
Okay.
as a country, is that they didn't have the capability for more
No,
than that yet.
you're citing the intelligence coming from Washington, and you really trust their.
What would you use?
Well, I don't
as
know.
a
I'm just
source?
asking.
Yeah. So from our intelligence community, I think our intelligence community is one of the few good working
And
parts
this is
of our
coming
government.
from Democrats
Really?
and Republicans, really?
Well,
You think
where do
the
you cite
intelligence
where do you
community is
cite your
trustworthy?
sources? Did I say trustworthy? They're accurate, I think.
Okay.
Really?
Yeah, really.
Okay, my sources come from obviously, I'm not.
Infowars?
No.
Oh,
Although they are usually
more
very
accurate than our CIA, right?
They're very accurate. They're actually far more accurate than Fox News, where
Did anyone mention Fox News?
See, that's what I was. Well, that's why I implied the question,
Okay.
because I wanted to hear whether or not you got it from
No,
your
anyone-
opinion. You based your opinion on
Anyone
what
getting
source,
first of
not
all, anyone
Fox
getting
News,
their
hopefully.
source of news from any one news source is an
Okay.
idiot.
very good.
Thank
Okay,
you.
so here's where I get my source.
That's
I get
the
my
point I was
source.
trying to come up.
I am obviously not a nuclear physicist, but as you guys have seen over the time that we've been working together, I study everything, and I have a rudimentary understanding
bookworm.
of. Yes, I am. I read constantly. I have a rudimentary understanding of nuclear physics. Obviously, I'm not going to go build a centrifuge. I'm not that good.
Stayed at a Holiday Inn Express last night? Did you?
No, I never have.
All right.
Never have.
They're a great hotel.
Are they?
Yeah.
Okay. Back on topic.
I wish we could plug them, but
We just
you
did.
got to pay us first.
We just plugged them.
No, I could actually kind of go from this topic and like what
Give me
all
okay.
the other hosts do.
Okay,
and
that's
just go into like a cold commercial and then go right back to the topic again.
Not quite Glenn Beck.
Squirrel!
All right.
Okay.
Anyway, I hopefully I didn't ruin your train of thought.
No. Okay. So I have studied nuclear physics. Now, if you remember back in high school, if you went to a decent high school, you actually did study the Manhattan Project.
Yes.
Okay. In the Manhattan Project, they came to the understanding that it took 90% enrichment to get any yield whatsoever from a nuclear weapon.
Okay.
Okay. So how can a treaty saying that they are allowed to have 5% enrichment, which makes it damn hard to even get nuclear power, how is that wrong? What's wrong with a country that has all the oil but no refineries because of sanctions? What's wrong with them having nuclear power?
Well, let's help them build the refinery, and let's take those sanctions off instead of the nuclear sanctions, because they could build a bunch of refineries to refine their oil, and they're not going to bomb us or anybody else with their oil refinery capability.
They can't bomb us
yet.
No, they can't bomb us if they've got centrifuges that can only make 5% enriched uranium. It's physically impossible.
Assuming that is as far as
Well,
they go.
if you do some
and,
research, I don't have... Guys, viewers, Google this. Chris, when we get off the show, Google this. Guys, Iran has had nuclear weapons for at least 6 years from Russia. We don't have to worry. The whole nuclear, the whole. I don't have. I just said Google it. You have to do some research
on the internet. It's got to be true.
No.
Chris, I could say the same thing about your opinion.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Could.
Thank you.
You could.
Okay. So the besides the fact that we're talking about 5% enrichment. The the nuclear weapon idea is a red herring. Okay? Now, if we accept this...
Paul is a nuclear physics. He knows everything. I like that comment. Go ahead.
Okay, anyway. If we accept this deal, now Saudi Arabia says that they're going to nuke Iran. Okay, well, if Iran accepts the deal, Saudi Arabia is going to nuke Iran. Okay, well, that's wonderful, because what happens then? Then Russia, China, and Israel get in on the game, and before you know it, it's a nuclear war worldwide. It's a chain reaction. Okay, the problem here is that there is no real good solution.
And they've been threatening each other for years. I mean, do you really think they're going to follow through on what they say?
What do you think this solved, this treaty?
Well, I think that basically what I'm saying is that Saudi Arabia is the big problem.
Well,
Saudi
let's
Arabia
stay on Iran. Iran, we relieved sanctions in exchange for basically nothing.
Let me ask you this, and you know what? We can talk about Iran, but at the same point, I want to segue into Saudi Arabia as well, because they're supposedly one of our closest allies, but yet they're the ones that export Al Qaeda en masse.
Well, I have some real problems with Saudi Arabia as well.
Iran has really done nothing to us. Saudi Arabia has. So why are we supporting Saudi Arabia and enforcing restrictions on Iran? Shouldn't we be putting sanctions on Saudi Arabia as well? If you are an interventionist, which I know.
Saudi Arabia, is Saudi Arabia an ally of ours?
Yes, they're one of our biggest allies.
Well, right. So they say.
So we don't.
And we fund them.
Right.
Well,
we fund everybody. But
as if they need it.
The thing is that we're not going to put any sanctions on Saudi Arabia because obviously we have this huge ally connection here with Saudi Arabia. But I think Saudi Arabia has a lot of
Kara,
negatives.
Can you turn down his mic before he blows my eardrums?
Or just turn it off.
Sorry, I'm not trying to.
Will you let me get a word in?
Just kidding.
Come on.
Just don't blow my eardrums.
All right.
Okay, go ahead. Yeah.
No, I'm just saying that overall, I mean, we've got... Who do we pick and choose who our allies are? I mean, we've got China, that's a communist country. I supposedly is an ally because they carry a lot of our debt. But then, what's the difference between China and Iran?
Well, listen, we have a lot of allies that are only...
How do we know?
Technically allies, you know.
But here's the thing: who opens the books and puts the language in there and says, "This is the enemy. This is wrong. This is right." The thing is, how can we trust? And like Matt always says, how can we trust what the CIA says all the time? We're a bunch of.
Well, I mean, we can take the conspiracy route forever and ever.
No, I'm not trying to be
conspiracy. No, hold on. Let me stop this.
If I use the C word, it really Matt's head explode.
It really does.
I love it.
Because everybody throws the conspiracy word out there when all you're trying to do is discredit somebody because they have the ability to think critically.
Well, I've been sitting here listening to you two for about 5 or 10 minutes, and I'm hearing both sides, and I'm saying to myself, well, if you add up everything together about the fact that China is a communist country, we've always been taught when we were younger they were bad people, but all of a sudden they're holding all our debt, so all of a sudden we don't talk bad about China anymore, but we're going to start picking on Iran let me finish my idea here. So then we got Iran over here that's they're gonna blow up Israel because they have the capability of building a nuke. But at the same time, you've got people saying, oh no, Saudi Arabia is good, but Iran's bad, and then we have to trust Israel. I mean, all these talking points that come from the news, that come from Washington. Why can't we as a collective understand the fact that communism is bad? Any communist country is bad. And
I want to somewhat back up his point here and say, if we're going to go after Iran because they have nukes, why aren't we going after South Korea, who's threatening to turn us into a lake of fire?
North Korea.
That's what I meant. North Korea.
Or China. Or obviously we're not going to pick on China because China holds our debt, but we should be. Am I right?
So. The conspiracy theory thing, by the way, was because of something you posted this morning on Facebook, and you.
Yes, I know. I knew it was going to.
I've got to work that in. I've got to work that in.
What was it that he posted?
I don't remember.
It said conspiracy theory is a term used to. I forget. It's paraphrased here. Used to discredit people that have the ability to think critically.
So I knew as soon as I saw that post, I had to work that into the show. Somehow.
Oh, that makes my head explode. Let me ask you guys something. And I know I'm a little off topic here, but let me ask you something, all right? Why is it wrong to believe that powerful people will work together for their own benefit to the detriment of other people? How is that so hard to believe?
Hey, listen, it's not. I was just teasing you with that because I had to.
I understand that, but that's, the media goes on about it. That word has been basically militarized.
It has. I mean,
what word is
been
that?
Several words.
Conspiracy.
Oh.
And you know what? Conspiracy's not supposed to exist, but yet thousands of people go to jail every year for conspiracy to commit a crime.
Right.
So,
And you're right.
And you know what? I think you have a point, because at the same time, when you're critically thinking about an issue, and then you take another point of view, which is not in the masses in the media, all of a sudden you're a kook.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah.
And that doesn't make any sense to me. I mean, Chris, I have to say that a lot of times you follow the talking points, but you don't want to come up with your own conclusion, like in this issue.
That's not true.
Well, let me say, for example, when we're talking about Iran, and the fact is, like Matt's saying, they might not have the capability of building a nuke, but then instead you just want to say, nope, they can and they will.
Well, look, just because Matt's conclusion doesn't come to the same conclusion as mine.
It's not my conclusion.
Mine either.
No, the conclusion comes from the scientist.
None of us are intelligence experts.
No, the conclusion comes straight from the scientist that developed the nuclear weapons back at the Manhattan Project. Okay, that's not my opinion.
Right,
that's the people that actually did the thing.
Right, and just like you would pull that stat out, if I knew about this before, if I knew this was a topic before this morning, I'd have done some research, but I didn't.
I encourage
have the
you to
time
do so.
It. And we can circle back around to this next week, but
absolutely, why not?
Just because you have some expert doesn't mean that there's not some expert that says the other side.
The other side of you.
So it's a bit of you picking and choosing what you want to believe.
Well, it's the same thing. If we
in a way, it's the same with me. But
listen. There's the same thing that we can switch gears on global warming. Some people will say it exists, and other people will say it doesn't exist. So here we go. I mean, it's like
hold on.
No.
Hold on.
Some people have facts that they say.
Hold on. I'm pulling
the polar ice caps are melting, and then you've got the hole in the ozone layer. But then everyone's going to say, "Oh no, that doesn't exist," because their facts were all wrong to begin with.
No, not only are their facts all wrong, but the Earth has actually been cooling for 16 years, and the polar ice caps have grown 30% more than they ever have on record.
I'm sorry, I switched topic. Let's go back to Iran.
And that's why the libs have changed it to climate change instead of global warming, because they even though
you have to admit though that sometimes these politicians will switch gears just to manipulate the public and what they think about an issue.
People do that, not just politicians.
I think because I was going to say the politicians do it because they have the tool of the media. They have the tool to reach millions and millions of people through radio and television. So that being said, they can go on air and say, "I believe that global warming exists." And then everyone goes, "Oh yeah, I believe you." I mean, it takes only that much effort for people to believe someone's saying something on the air.
Well, let me take this a little further, and let me say that I believe public opinion is a joke. It doesn't exist.
Public opinion is shaped by however you ask the question.
That's exactly right, and therefore the whole public opinion poll.
They're meaningless.
Yeah. It does mean something. It really does. The public opinion poll is meant to shape the opinion of the masses, not to get the opinion, but to shape it. Because if you disagree,
can I step in real quick?
Hold on. Let me finish.
No, I want to talk about the chat. The chat in here. No, the chat in here. Actually, I'm going to ask people to be real polite on the chat because there's people attacking each other on here, and I have a right to jump in there and say something. All right?
That's all well and good, but I'm trying to say you don't have to eat the mic anymore. I fixed that problem. You're blowing my eardrums. So here's the deal. The public opinion polls are a tool of control by the mainstream media. That's how they keep their hooks in you. And that's how they spread their lies, because what they do is they put it out there and they say, this is what the public believes, and if you don't agree, then there's something wrong with you.
Well, we talked about this when we did the media summit last year, and, it's that...
The young Republicans?
Yes.
Okay.
It's that most people no longer watch the news to become informed. They watch it to confirm their own opinion already,
and also be entertained. I mean, that's basically
they watch news to confirm their own opinion versus get information.
Well, that's exactly
and
right.
That's what we're talking about.
Well, and this is what I'm talking about here. And by the way, if you guys don't know it, I was playing with Ricky. I would never snatch his mic and not give it back.
Sure.
So,
right.
Prove
Just
me
kidding.
wrong. No,
I'm just kidding.
So, the problem here, guys, is you have to get. Don't do that to my battery. Sorry.
See, and I set my mic on this side because
I'm
I know
for my
you
computer to overheat, and it's going to shut down on me. That's why I'm lifting it.
You would have pulled the mic a dozen times for me. No, so I
only do it because I think it's funny because he's always talking about getting his word in. So, what the heck was that? We've got a ghost, and I'm telling you, we're haunted. Okay. Okay, we've gotten way off topic here, but.
Okay, well,
anyways.
I would just want to mention that we've got a little heated conversation going on in the chat. One person's going at Lisa, another person's going at Paul. Hopefully, y'all can play nice and
you know what?
We can all agree to disagree.
No,
all right.
You know what? Not necessarily let the debate happen, but keep it civil, guys, because this is how we come to answers. We have to argue. We have to fight, but as long as it doesn't become personal, then answers can come from it. It can actually be productive. So don't let it become personal. So anyway,
yeah, we usually try to involve the comments from the live stream, and I can't do anything with the last couple. So,
well, that's okay. Let it happen. I mean, I don't have it in front of me. What are they arguing about?
It doesn't matter.
No, what are they arguing about? Let me know.
It's not important. It's who's single and who's not and why. And
oh wow, really?
Yeah.
Come on, guys.
We're way off topic there.
Come on, guys. Let's. We're supposed to be. We're supposed to be educating people.
We may
and
have
that includes our viewers. You're supposed to take what you learn here and educate the public,
thing
not
is, the
fight
thing
amongst
is that
yourselves.
we may have to go to
insults at each other.
We may have to go to a Jerry Springer format if this continues.
Oh, that's nice. Gotta love it. Hey,
All
you know
right.
what? It's all good.
So do we want to talk about
what do you want
We'll
to
go wherever you want to go. You tell us.
We're putting you on the spot.
Putting me on the
I've
spot?
got plenty of things to talk about.
Me
I
too,
mean, I could
but
keep going on Iran.
Okay.
You want to keep going on Iran?
Nah, let's talk about something that we all know something about.
In other words, you don't know enough about Iran.
No.
I've got a list of nuclear physics books you can read there, buddy. Take you a
All
while, I'm
right.
sure.
Well, I would like to say quickly that there were, we bring this up every time that we do this show, and we talk about activism. We talk about how people can get involved and how they can make a difference. And the louder you get, the more attention you get. And I think that at some point down the road, I think we accomplished that just last week. So, did you want to touch on that?
Well, we can. Yeah, everybody knows about the Trey Radel thing.
I hadn't heard about that.
Oh yeah.
If anybody, if you all aren't paying, don't live here in Southwest Florida.
To quote Cass, he snowballed us.
Yeah.
A little bit of an
that
inside
never made
joke.
the air, by the way.
Yeah, it didn't?
No, it didn't.
That just did.
Yeah.
Yeah, it just did. It's on air now. And Cass,
thanks, Cass.
if I would have thought of it, I would have said it. So don't feel bad. It was hysterical.
Right.
So go ahead.
It was a funny moment. But basically, what happened down here was we have a congressman that was caught buying cocaine in D.C. and it made national news. And he is our local representative here in this district. And at some point, there was a mass understanding that everybody in the party wanted him to step down without taking a vote. So they didn't have a discussion, they didn't take a vote, and what happened was that the local party, the local executive committee, decided that they wanted him to step down without doing the proper procedure, in my point of view. And so then I just went out there and with the help of others, said, hey, what they did was wrong. And we need to be open and inclusive. And we need to build relationships with other clubs. We need to also be reaching out to other people in the community and let their opinion be heard. And so what we did was we had a meeting, and we all had a discussion, and we took a vote, and we concluded that we would like to support him throughout the remainder of his term, not for re-election, not for an endorsement, but to say, hey, listen, there's more to it than just the whole point of him stepping down. There was more. If he was to step down, then there's a whole other idea of what can happen. I mean, basically, we have no representation in D.C., which we have some serious votes coming up in the next several months. His productivity and his staff will be cut in half. And then also the costs and the length of the election. And so a lot of people did not support. And there were also, let me say real quickly about this whole story, is that I've had more support than I've had negative. I mean, you've got people on the blogs, and you've got people on Facebook, and you got people out there in the media, and you got people in the party itself saying what they did was wrong. I think what we did was right, because we had a discussion, we had a vote, but let me say I got more emails, I got more voicemails, I got more phone calls, I got more everything that was saying, you know what, you guys stepped up and you did the right thing.
Well, and that's what I was going to ask. Was it support for the decision, or was it support
in the process?
That's what I thought. Because quite honestly, it was a very, very close vote. Okay, very close vote. I think, wasn't it 1 or 2 people that actually swayed it?
No, we had about 15 votes, and 9 people voted to support.
Okay, so it's still
a 60-40, which is
it's pretty close vote. But but
it got state attention.
Well,
I mean, absolutely. It was all over the East Coast, and it was up to the Tampa area. It was all over the state. And I've heard from high profile people that I can't mention, but I can say the high profile people that are in politics were actually impressed about what we did.
Well, good.
So it was great.
And I was one of the ones that voted against him staying in office on principle.
Right, and I completely understand your point of view. There's nothing wrong with that.
But I can understand the other point of view. Personally, I think he should step down because of the principle of the thing and the fact that, if you're snorting coke and voting for people that to get drug tested, well, it makes you a hypocrite. But the fact of the matter is that the YR did it right. We took the vote. The people got their say. And it wasn't just a mandate handed down from the leadership.
Well, I was just going to say, I mean, what really bothers me about leadership in the party is the fact that, these people who are voted on by their members, they are not above their members. They're below their members, and that's how I look at it. I look at the fact that I represent the young Republicans. I am below my membership. I'm not above them. So to make a decision what they want,
what a novel
I
idea.
Can't, you know what I mean? These
are you saying
officials,
that you consider yourself a public servant?
Well, I would say that I'm below my membership.
That's what a novel idea. So you might be one of those revolutionary constitutionalists, huh?
I hope so.
What a radical.
But I mean, if you look at it, they made that decision in Collier and Lee County. And they didn't consult their members. And so what they're basically implying is, I'm a big head in the room. I have the audacity to go above my members and make a decision based on what my point of view is. And what I'm saying is, I'm below my members. I'm not above them. And to not even consult with my membership is downright disgusting to me.
I want to segue this into something that it's kind of, it wasn't on the docket to talk about today, but let me ask you, do you believe that this goes further? Do you think that the people in government are underneath the people?
Well, that's the thing. I mean, if you look at it, I mean, everyone's entitled to their point of view, and I get that. And they have their own opinions, and you've got the governor. No. I'm going to get to that.
Go ahead.
They all have their opinions, and we're all American, and we all have our own opinions. But when you're an elected official, or if you're an elected leader, you're not above them. I mean, I don't care if you're a senator, I don't care if you're a congressman, or you're a state representative, or if you're a school board member. You are below your constituents. You represent them. It's not the other way around.
So the government is not God.
Oh, yeah, exactly. And that's the way it was formed, am I right? I mean, come on.
You are a terrorist, my friend. Do you want to apologize?
But, I got so much crap.
Do you want to apologize to the federal government right now and just understand that there shall be no God above the state?
Yeah.
Okay. But
here's the thing that bothered me the most about this entire week, because it was in the news for the entire week.
The last 2 days. Noticed.
Yeah, the last 2 days were the most difficult days. They were the longest days of my life, I'll have to say that. But, it really bothers me that you
thought criminal.
You have You have leadership. That's not even elected office, not even a politician, but you have leaders within the party that say, I'm going to make that choice for you. We stepped up and said, no, our members are more important than our leaders. You know what I mean? And here's the thing. I was attacked, and I think all of you know that in the papers and everywhere that we made the wrong choice because we support Trey Radel. No, it was about the process. Do people not understand that there's more to it than just the headline?
Well,
You know
look,
what I mean?
and that's what was right about the decision, and unfortunately, that's why it got so much press. It's kind of sad that when you do the right thing,
You get beat up for
it gets so much attention because it's so rare. But had
Nobody does it. and that's sad.
had other groups in this county and in Collier actually had a meeting to discuss the issue
It would have never happened.
before taking a vote. First of all, I don't think you would have ever had a meeting.
No.
Because you would have respected that there was a process that the county Republican parties
Right.
followed, and if they'd have taken a vote, so be it, whatever that vote may be.
But I want to say
But,
quickly, Chris, go ahead.
It would have, not only would there have been a vote, but it would have taken care of a lot of things a lot of the misinformation that's out there. I mean, I can't tell you how many people said, well, what's the big deal? The governor will just appoint somebody. And
They don't even know.
It doesn't work that way.
It doesn't work
how
that
the
way. It's not
system works.
constitutional. But the thing is,
Or the election will, 5 or 6 weeks we'll have a new congressman if we have to have a special election. Well, no, there's a special election right now going on in Tampa,
right.
and it's a 5-month process.
But
Why
let me
would
get my-
this be any different?
Let me get my point of view across real quick that I wanted to say, too. You were right about that. If the REC, the Republican Executive Committee in this county, would have actually called for a vote or called for a discussion, this wouldn't have happened. But secondly, it wouldn't have happened if our REC chair would have had a relationship with me and the other Republican groups in this county. I would have been able to call him up and say, what's going on? I see in the paper that you're asking Trey Riddle to step down. I would highly suggest that maybe you would call for a discussion and a vote. But there's no relationship there. He's never attended any of our meetings. He's never been there. I can't see any time in all the other meetings I've attended where he's actually attended other meetings. And the problem is that I look at it like, oh gosh, this all broke the news. I am an REC member. I've gone to many, many meetings and I've attended many functions. And now I don't even get an invite to the Christmas party. And I got BCC'd by another Republican group in the county saying, "Oh, look, there's a Republican Executive Committee Christmas party, but you're not invited." So I take that as a big slap because
You know what?
They
You
would be
shouldn't.
they
putting-
took it personal.
They would be putting coal in your stock.
Here's the deal. You shouldn't, because you know what? Change hurts. And if you're not ruffling feathers, you're not making a difference.
Right. But it takes a lot of courage to do that. And I encourage our listeners and I encourage people who are watching today to do the same thing that I did and not just follow with the breeze and just go with the leadership. Because I think a lot of times the leadership thinks I'm running for office in the future, and I have no intention to run for office. So they always expect, and they expect it from everybody, to follow with the breeze and do exactly what they say.
Well, and
we got
here's
something going on over here. What's going on, Kara?
Ricky, since you are the REC
No.
mastermind of this group, we do have a question about the REC on the chat if you want to
Shoot.
check it
Hey,
out.
I'm in REC.
Go ahead and read it.
We're both REC members.
Yeah,
It says-
Chris and I are. And Chris
Well,
got the invite to the Christmas
I
party.
did get
and I
the
didn't.
invite. I'm
I
going.
will admit I am not, and that's a whole long debate. So go ahead.
All right, so the question is, especially when the head of the REC... Oh, wait. I'm sorry. How do us Republicans get back in control of the REC so that one man does not control it, especially when the head of the REC makes his living off getting the candidates elected?
Well,
You go ahead and give y'all's answer, and then I'll give mine.
Well, I mean, it starts with the people who are members of the REC speaking up,
Yeah.
and which is what
And there's a
you and
long
I
process
just
of
did.
that.
It also starts with other people becoming part of the REC who aren't going to just rubber stamp decisions. And let me throw this out there too, and this doesn't really address that, although in some way it does. There's nothing wrong with people in the same party having a difference of opinion.
Exactly.
That's supposed to happen. when it doesn't happen, you end up getting the Democrat bobbleheads where you have everybody going along with Obamacare, everybody going along with whatever Harry Reid or Obama says.
Yep.
That's not good for government.
No.
It's good to have disagreement. And if it's within your own party, even better, because that just is going to make the party stronger in the long run.
Yep. And, here's the thing about the process, too, because if you really want to make a difference within your own party, you have to become a member. And it's not just becoming a member, but you also have to be elected by your precinct to be a voting member within the club. So people don't realize that you have to actually be on the ballot in your precinct, being voted on in your precinct to change the board membership in the party. And the thing is, it's so hard to do, and you have to be a member. I think it's for a year before you actually can be a voting member. And a lot of people don't realize it's not you just can walk in there, become a member, and you can take a vote. It's a long process. And the thing is that if you don't like how things are done, go in there and change them, but it takes a while for it to happen.
Well, that's just it. And this is where I'm going to step in and give my take on this and why I am not a member. Okay, and it's real simple. Number one, you alienate a lot of people with this. You can't have a vote unless we say you can have a vote.
Yep.
That, you know what? That's crap. Okay, straight up crap. You want to change the REC, you want to change how things are done, then it's very simple. And I think the young Republicans are actually on the way to doing this. You make the REC obsolete. When the young Republicans have more political pull than the REC will listen. You don't have to be a member of the REC.
They should be listening anyway. But
they should be. They should be. But you know what? When the politicians, the people that are running for office, are more worried about your support as president of the Young Republicans than they are about the REC's support,
right,
that's when you have enough pull to change the REC. Until that point, it's going to be a fight. You know what? We've tried to take over the Republican Party for 60 years, and it's only gotten worse. I don't know how much more patient I can be.
Well, I gotta say that there have been people that said, and I thought they were my friends for the longest time. And I know that it's so amazing to me that people who were huge supporters just kind of jump on the wagon with the party and then just tear you to shreds, but all they're reading is the headlines. And these are well-educated, well-smart individuals that just read the headlines and not read what's beneath the headline. And the fact of the matter is, and like I just said when I first started this segment, is the fact that it's not about... It's about the substance of the fact that we are leaders in our group, but we are not above our membership.
Well,
and that
true.
should be in every club. I don't care if you're independent, Democrat, Republican, whatever. You are beneath your membership. And when people start walking around with, high-profile politicians and start, waving around, I'm dropping names and I'm getting my photograph taken with so-and-so, I look at these politicians as, listen, you work for me. I'm not going to stand there and get my picture taken with you to glorify what position you have. You are here. We are here. And I think a lot of people forget that. And it really gets under my skin. And I mean, that's just one of the issues I had.
I'm going to say one more thing and use it to segue into the next topic, which...
Well, if you're going to segue,
I'm going to segue into your Obamacare topic. All
right.
Okay? Because, quite honestly, I see what happened with the RECs of, was it Charlotte County? I think it was...
No, Collier County.
Collier County and
they
Lee County.
They changed their vote. Did you notice that? They actually, and Chris, you can mention something else a little bit later, but they actually, this was in the news for a week, they actually called a meeting after that. They took a discussion and a vote.
That's how you change the REC.
The vote was not unanimous either. The vote was not. It was very close.
Their decision didn't change, but they at least had a discussion about it, which is what should have happened.
Because what happened in Lee County is that the leadership of the REC dictated what the group said. Not unlike what's going on with Obamacare, where even the Cato Institute is now calling the offices of Obama a dictatorship.
Real quick, I want to say too that Chris had mentioned to me earlier today that there was a committee of some sort, and all the state reps were there, and they asked that very question, whether or not Trey Radel should step down.
So,
and not one person said yes.
So the News Press editorial board had a meeting with all the legislators from our area yesterday. Now, keep in mind that all of our area legislators belong to the Republican Executive Committee.
The Lee County one.
All of
Okay.
them. What happened was the question was asked, will you call for Trey Radel's resignation? And of the 6 that were taking part, and this is following your vote, the Young Republican vote, and the tons of media attention that it got.
Right.
Far more media attention than anything the REC's done, by the way.
Well, that's not hard.
The question was put to them, and not one of them would say they called for Trey's resignation, Congressman Radel's resignation. Whereas before that whole blitz, there were several that would. Not all, but several.
Oh, they didn't do it publicly, but they did it.
Well, they all agreed that if it were them in that position, they would resign. They all stopped short of calling for his resignation, and every one of them, when the other question was asked, every one of them said they would submit to a drug test if it were
And they
called.
should, and I think every elected official from here on out
I give them
should
credit
take a
for
drug
that.
test.
You know
think that
what?
was
And
excellent.
here's the thing. Okay, I've been working on it. I haven't gotten it. I wasn't going to announce it because I'm not there yet, but I'm working right now. Got to contact the lab. We are going to call for every candidate in our district
Or even elected officials, I would say.
We're going to call for every candidate when they're coming up for election to submit to a drug test to a local lab that I can actually get in contact with the owner, so there's less likelihood of fraud.
Right.
Okay.
And this wouldn't be private. This would be
public. The results of these tests will be read on air.
okay.
Okay? So the reasoning here for me, as I've made no bones about, I'm against the drug war. I don't you know what? I'm sick of the drug war. It's caused more drugs, more violence than,
But you asked Trey Radel to step down.
But I did because he's a hypocrite. Not because of what he did, but because of his hypocrisy.
Right.
Okay? Now, if you're going to hold us to that standard, now guys, I do not do drugs. The worst I do is smoke, and I need to stop that, and I understand that.
What do you smoke?
But because of people
No,
like
what?
you,
What do you smoke? What do you smoke?
I smoke cigarettes.
All right,
Sorry.
that's okay.
Okay. And I'm just kidding. It's not because of you. It's because I enjoy it. I'm sorry. Anyway, and I drink. Yeah, that's true. I do. Never mind. But the reason I'm calling for this is because if you're going to hold us to that standard, then you need to be held to that standard as well. Plain and simple. So
it's easy for people to criticize somebody else, but when it actually everything's reversed.
Well, and here's the deal.
Here's
the deal. Obviously, I can't require this.
Right.
But you know what? They like to say all the time with the whole NSA thing. They like to say if you've got nothing to hide, you've got nothing to fear. Well, my response is to the candidates that don't want to take this drug test, if you've got nothing to hide, you've got nothing to fear.
Right.
So go take the damn drug test. Give me the results. I'll read them on air. And then everybody will know where you stand and whether you're a hypocrite or not. Plain and simple. Easy enough?
Yeah.
I say yeah, absolutely.
All right. I will do my best. Unfortunately, I've got a very busy life, but I will do my best to have that set up within a week. And I've already got a lab picked out. I just have to contact them, and I want to get a sample of the paperwork so that I know how to read it.
We have plenty of contacts to.
Well, yeah.
To get the word out.
Oh, yeah.
Saying that we're stepping up and we're doing.
Well, yeah, and what's going to happen is not going to be like, oh, when you get around to it. No, there's going to be a set time. Because quite honestly, cocaine is out of your system in 72 hours.
These people work for the people. So if we have a set time and they actually go in one by one, they should be in line to go take this drug test.
They should.
And we shouldn't have to work around their schedule. Am I right?
Mm-hmm. Well,
do you agree, Chris? I mean, I understand
not only
that some
that-
of them have lives, and they all have lives.
Not only that, but
But-
you've got thousands coming in campaign contributions. You know that if it comes up clean, it'll be good for your campaign.
yeah.
You're paying for it, not
Definitely.
me.
I agree.
You know,
what do you think, Chris?
So,
Yeah, I mean, I think it's a fine idea. I mean, you can't just say, all right, in
2 days.
tomorrow you're going to...
No.
Got to have some...
it will be sometime within a 3-day period.
Yeah.
It will be less than 3 days
But I
because
understand you
cocaine
have
is
to...
out of your
Right,
system.
right.
Right. And
But
here's
no,
the
I
thing
think
that-
anyone running for office should welcome that.
Yeah, and I've already, I've talked to a couple candidates that are right on board, and
Cool.
I'm not going to say who they are because I'm not going to I'm not going to try to sway the vote. That's not what this is about.
And we should be there collecting.
I'll leave
No,
that to
maybe-
the professionals.
Well, yeah, I was
actually.
going to say collecting their samples. No, we don't.
No.
wanna do that.
No, what the way, and like I said, I still have to get in touch with the lab, but there's some legal issues here. The lab will most likely not be able to send it to me, so it will be up to the candidate to send it to me.
Right.
That's why I want a sample
But this
of
has
what
not-
it's going to
this
look
will-
like and how to read
listen,
it from the lab.
If this makes any attention, we have to. This is completely separate than the YR.
Oh, absolutely. This is me
just
doing
us.
this, and this is Paul Revere Radio doing this.
Right.
But it's a call out, not to Republicans, not to Democrats, not to Libertarians, but to everybody. You know, as long and I want to do this every election, as long as the drug war's in place, I'm doing this. Because if you're going to hold us to that standard, then I'm
You
going to
should
hold
do
you
it
to
too.
that standard. And
I
if
agree.
you
I
and
agree.
and I'll put it this way, if you're a Republican, if you're a Democrat, if you're a Libertarian, I don't care who you are, if you refuse to submit to this drug test, I will not support you. Period.
There you go. I agree.
So
no problem with that.
end of discussion.
that's
So
good.
now back to Obamacare, and I did like I brought it up earlier, but I want to go back to it and say it again, guys. Even the Cato Institute is calling not necessarily Obama. Although they did call Obama a dictator, but it's the office of the presidency. What's going on?
No, I was just saying. Someone said that they would donate the cost to the testing.
Rick
you never know.
Williams said that.
No,
right?
Rick
Yeah.
Williams says drug test the field of candidates.
Oh, well, that's what we're doing, Rick.
Yeah.
And he's a candidate, so he will be getting.
No,
a
he is
call.
an elected official.
Oh, that's
now.
right. That's right. Well, he'll probably still be getting the call. So, although I have no doubt because I know Rick personally, I have no doubt he'll pass. But to be fair, I've got to make the
Everybody, yeah.
call. Yeah. So,
Although I have, I think some people, you may have to be on drugs to want to run for office in Cape Coral, but
no kidding.
anyway.
So anyway, yeah.
We know Rick's not. So
Yeah. No. Rick's a good guy.
And
That's why I supported
glad
him.
he's listening.
That's why I supported him, and I caused a real stir at that party when he won. So
Oh.
yeah, Kara's over there laughing because she was there, and I'm sure Lisa's laughing at this point too. She was too. So I think I was the most hated man in that room. But anyway, back to the whole Obama's a dictator thing. When the mainstream media actually says it, the office, not just Obama, guys. A dictator doesn't come to power because he just came to power. He's elected. Okay? It's what he does. The term dictator means that he dictates the law and he is above the law. And he can change the law himself. He's doing it with Obamacare, exempting who he wants to exempt, extending the law without it going through Congress,
Right.
taking powers that he does not have. That is a dictator.
Yeah.
Now, the problem is if we do not impeach him, then we've set the precedent. And then that goes down from president to president to president. What we are doing is it's exactly what the Constitution was meant to prevent. This is everything that this country stands against. We're turning the office of the presidency, the executive branch of the government, into a dictatorship. We have become a banana republic at this point.
It's a good store. Sorry.
See, and here I'm all getting irritated, and
I calmed you
but
down. I calmed you
did,
down.
and that's a
There you
good
go.
thing because I was about ready to start screaming. So
Well, look, I mean, there's
I know
so
you got
much.
something to
Right?
say.
I know since we weren't on last week, I wasn't on last week. The show was. I don't know if you talked about Obamacare, but
no,
Th-
last
there's-
week we spent the week talking about civil rights and how to stand for them.
well,
So
there's
it's
so
sad that you don't watch your show.
so much. I kind of became a spokesperson for some media stuff going on this week, but it got a little busy.
It's all good. I'm just picking on you. You did get us in the newspaper. So
Yeah. Yes, that's right.
Yes.
Which,
right.
although the Daily Breeze, we may have a bigger viewership than the Daily Breeze.
No,
has
they get good. They
so.
get good readership.
They do. Get
And they're one of the few papers I think that does a real good job of fact checking before they write anything and verify sources.
They're one of
more
the
than
best,
one source.
actually.
They actually are very good. More
Yep.
people should read them.
Okay.
Praise them, Matt. Praise them.
So
Why?
It's called exposure.
Well, I know they're going to rail against me eventually, so I might as well
What?
get no, go ahead. I'm just
Here's the thing
Go
about
ahead.
let
Either love
let
me or
touch on
hate
that
me
re-
with
let
passion. I don't care
Let me
which.
touch on that a little bit. Not all media is bad, because if you look at the fact of what happened last week, you build a relationship with them, and
No, you're right. You're right.
if you build a relationship with them and you're good to them and they're good to you, it's I can't use that word.
Camaraderie.
That's it.
Okay.
And if you can build that with just
You're right. You're right
yeah.
to a
I mean, I
point.
want to say real quickly too, Warren Wright, you did an awesome job. I mean, he really articulated our message clearly on Fox 4.
And I will say, I
And
did
Fox
not.
4.
I did not get a chance to read the story.
He's the
I know
one
we
that
were
broke
just
this-
mentioned as a footnote, which is understandable.
Right.
We are competition to
But
them.
let me say quickly, Fox 4 is the one that broke the Young Republican story, and they were articulate and they delivered a message clearly, and he wasn't attacking us. He just said, "Hey, listen, you're being practical. You're doing the right thing." And basically, we need more of that. And if you can build relationship with the media,
then you're
golden. Then they're good.
But at the same point, like I said, you don't want to go too far with
No,
it.
you
Because,
don't.
I have this philosophy, and you've heard it. I say it all the time, and I just said it. Either love me or hate me with passion. Because quite honestly, either way, you're spreading my message, and I don't care which it is. I don't mind being the bad guy. I'd rather be the good guy. But I don't mind being the bad guy. If you hate me, that's fine, because you're gonna rail against me, and people are gonna go, well, I wonder why this guy's so bad, and they're gonna come listen to what I have to say. And you know what? Some of them are gonna buy into your crap, and they're gonna hate me
Don't
too.
buy any of this crap. He's really soft.
What planet are you from?
I'm just kidding. All right, go ahead, Chris.
Yeah.
You had a thought, and I completely cut
wait,
you off.
no, I was just sitting here in stunned silence after the soft part. But
Yeah.
anyway,
He's a softie. You don't
So,
agree?
I have never been called a softie
kidding.
before in my
I'm
life.
kidding.
Wow.
I was trying to change it up and get Chris back in here.
he
and
has
talk about what
a
saying.
kitten on his lap.
That's right.
now.
It's invisible, see? It's Schrodinger's cat, and most of our audience will not catch that reference, but that's okay.
So Obamacare. There's like 8 different parts to talk about this week, because so many things are happening with this, and some people like our Mrs. Producer here said, "Oh, you're going to talk about Obamacare again?" Well, it changes so much, and it's such an important topic as we go through the next year that we got to talk about it.
Well,
so
it's the planned destruction of our country, to be
it's
honest.
a sixth
with
of
you.
the economy. It affects even more than that.
Well, it depends on what you look at. It's either a sixth or a seventh, but
Yeah,
I'm just
just
go ahead.
splitting hairs. God, how do I do this?
Hey, listen.
So there's no security built into the back end of this thing, and there never was, right? No security built into this. So you put your information out there, and it's out there, and it never was built in. And when people start referring to the back end, by the way, the back end of the system, the back end of Obamacare, that
The
part's
back end
not
of the
up.
website?
That part's not up yet, right?
Do you understand
Well,
what that means?
Yeah, that's what I'm just going to say. The back end is like the important part. Okay, now you can get onto the system after
It's
2 months.
missing a cash register.
But you can't pay for it. You can't sign up. You can't really do anything
How can you run a business
without the
a cash
back end.
register?
The back end's the important part, people.
The cash register.
Well, yeah, if you don't know anything about web design, this is one of my fortes. The back end, you can collect the data. The back end is what makes sense of it, what makes things happen. So, in other words, as I've said since the beginning, even when it does work, all it does is collect your information and store it in a database. There is no way, folks, that this website is going to work. The website, in my opinion, is more of a distraction than anything. It's meant to be a breakdown. It's meant to keep people's eyes on the website because it's such a debacle, and less on what's actually going on.
Well, not just that, Matt, but now we say we've got Obama out there actually cheerleading this thing again. Go, well, we fixed it. The website works. Well, who cares? That's not the important part. That just means you can get on. It still doesn't fix the fact that there's going to be limited doctors. There's going to be higher premiums. There's going to be higher deductibles. It doesn't fix any of the real problems with the law. It just means you actually can get on a website.
Yeah. And then, they say, what do they say? 10 million people or something like that have signed up. They're trying to say they've reached their goal.
Oh, not that many. No.
They're trying to say they've reached their goal or they're close to it. And the problem here is that most of these people are going into the hospital and saying, look, I've got Obamacare. I signed up. And the hospital's going, and the insurance company and the hospital's going, we never got your information.
You don't have anything.
Okay.
Did you pay?
If you've not paid the bill, and I would wager that probably not one single person, because I know about this kind of stuff. And you know what? There's a company here that that agreed with me. Not only it's simply impossible for this to work.
What company was that?
Torchlight.
Oh.
Okay. And not only that, but McAfee, the man who actually invented network security, has come out and said it's a joke. Yeah. I mean, the website will not work. If you go to it, you're dumb. Don't go to it, guys. All it's going to do is collect your information. The database that it does create there is absolutely no security on it whatsoever. It's open for hackers. It's a hacker's dream. And not only that, but I saw it in the news earlier that there's several websites now that people are going to. They think they're signing up for Obamacare. They think it works great, and really what it is a website that some scammer has put up in a couple hours.
Because they were so stupid, our federal government.
Oh, I think they were so smart.
This is healthcare. Well, depends on how you're looking at the situation.
Yeah.
This is healthcare.gov. Did they buy healthcare.com, .org, .net? No. So people who think they're going to the right place maybe aren't. Maybe they're going to healthcare.com, which works, but like you said, it works to steal your information.
It's a scam.
A couple other things that I just got to talk about with Obamacare.
Uh-oh.
New Jersey just passed a law that allows for online gambling.
Mm-hmm. And more people signed up for
within their own state. You have to be a New Jersey resident, so you can't.
And more power to them.
Yeah, I think it's great. I think that's
market.
great. We can't even get the state of Florida to say it's okay for casinos to exist, outside of Indian reservations. So, and they need to, but that's an entirely different story.
Well, that comes back to free market, like we talked about earlier.
So in New Jersey, 741 people have signed up for Obamacare in the 6 weeks it's been available.
741 people think.
Is this after the fixes?
Yeah, this is the people that think they have signed up for Obamacare at least in 6 weeks. In 2 weeks, 50,000 people have signed up for online gambling in New Jersey.
And this is my point when it comes to the website, guys. I could write a website in a couple hours that could handle the traffic that Obamacare or that healthcare.gov is getting. This is not a problem that wasn't planned. Exactly. Any idiot that knows how to, you can fire up a WordPress website and not know a damn bit of code, and your website's going to, as long as you put it on a halfway decent server, is going to handle more than healthcare.gov does.
Right.
Okay? If you don't think this was planned, and here I go with my conspiracy theory again, if you don't think this was planned, you're an idiot. Okay? There's no way this wasn't planned.
Well, here's the other thing.
It takes more work to make it not work than it does to make it work.
Here's the other thing on this. The key thing that we're not going to get that has to happen for Obama's numbers to work or even come close to working is you have to have young people sign up. That's not happening, and it's not going to happen. First of all, when you allow people...
Why would I pay for something I don't need?
Right, exactly. And not only that, but if you just allowed people to stay on their parents' plan until they're 26, why in the hell would you think those people are going to sign up for Obamacare?
Again,
but
its failure was built into the law.
But look, this is how desperate the administration has become to get young people to sign up. Obama goes out and gives speeches all over the country. Well, the latest one, speaking to a group of younger people, was if you're a bartender, host a happy hour and get people
Well, if you
interested
get 'em
in
drunk
signing
enough.
up. That's it. I mean, what is the new slogan for Obamacare? Get them drunk and sign them up? What,
You know-
I mean, what are we doing? It's
Well, here's the thing, though.
insanity.
I mean, with Obamacare, you have an administration that's always been giving young people free stuff. And all of a sudden you want them to pay for something. Why would you, as a young person, maybe even a Democrat or uninformed voter or somebody that doesn't pay attention to politics, sign up for something that costs money that you don't need, like Matt just said? You're going to have a lot of people going, okay, he was all about spreading the wealth and raising my minimum wage and giving me the things that I need, like a phone, or giving me
I got
low-income
my Obama
house,
phone.
yeah, and giving me low-income
got my
housing
healthcare.
and giving me everything I need, and giving me food stamps, and giving me SNAP, and giving me. I can get lobster on that SNAP. Did you know that? I can get anything I want.
Well, look, we had a bunch of people.
I completely just remembered the cash for clunkers. You know, I mean, everything that this president's ever done has basically been giving the public free stuff.
Well, look, with Obamacare.
Now, all of a sudden, with Obamacare, he needs the
I think
young
we're gonna
people.
filibuster.
See, let me say this, Chris. For once, I get something to say. And I've been listening to you for about 15 minutes straight. You get that? All right. So, that being said, you have the young generation who's been getting
Can I get a
everything
word
for
in
free,
edgewise?
and now Obama wants them to pay for something. What in the wildest dreams do they think that's actually going to happen? Now, let me ask Matt that question.
What question was that?
I don't know. I've been listening to him for about
Was there a
15 minutes.
question
I think it's.
Okay.
Why would young people pay for something that they know they can't afford, that they can sit on someone's health insurance for the age of 26, their parents? They've been given everything for free. Why in the hell would they actually
Well, they
consider?
wouldn't. They wouldn't, and that's the plan. Like I said, this
You
whole
think
thing.
this whole thing is just all set up?
Guys. Like I said, I mean, it takes more work to make this fail this bad than it does to have it than make it work halfway decent.
Yeah.
The whole idea here, as I've said 1,000 times, is to make it fail, and then when it completely collapses, say, well, that didn't work. Now we've got to go bigger and make a single-payer system. Okay?
Yeah, and you're already seeing calls for that.
Exactly.
But look,
And I called this when it first came out. This isn't rocket science, guys.
No, it was never.
Hold
It
on
was
a second.
always supposed to be
We
a
got
single
something
payer.
over here from the viewers. What's up?
We have a question. A viewer wants to know if there's any good parts of it.
I think there's things in there that are supposed to be good, but they're not going to work.
Yeah, are there any good parts of it? In my opinion, no, because
Well,
it's
no,
not,
no, wait,
it
wait,
doesn't-
stop.
No,
I'm gonna say-
because it doesn't work that way. You don't get to pick parts of Obamacare that you want to use or prefer to have. It's all or nothing. Bad system. Period.
The one thing that I think that everyone can relate to when it comes to health insurance, and let's say if you had a pre-consisting...
That's not insurance.
And I mean just Obamacare or not being accepted into an insurance company. If you had a pre-existing
condition.
and if you had that, and all of a sudden you're denied insurance because you have a condition. I mean, that's one thing that people haven't.
But that's not
with.
number one. That's not insurance.
I know, but I'm just saying overall.
That's welfare.
That's
now hold on though, because
You have
if you
cancer.
really want to fix this problem again, the insurance companies are what run. You know what? Before we started the insurance crap, we had the cheapest and the best healthcare in the world. Then the insurance companies came in, and now we have the most now we have the most expensive healthcare in the world. Okay, and now it's still in many aspects the best healthcare in the world, but it's by far the most expensive. And now,
we have charity care too.
We had charity care, but Obamacare gets rid of that. Now charity care is illegal thanks to Obamacare.
In all states?
Yes, in all states. Obamacare is a federal law, my friend. It's not every state doesn't get treated differently.
So that is completely wiped away. So let's say, for example, I need to go to the emergency room and I need an emergency surgery. I have to to stand there now and sign up for Obamacare before I get.
They are no longer required in every instance. Now I do believe they're required to give you care, but they're not required the Hippocratic Oath is now gone, so they're not required to write off a third of their care for charity care anymore. In fact, they're required not to. So now, where you would have gone and you would have got treated, just like now you'll go and you'll get treated, before, if your income was at a certain point, you could request charity care and it would be written off.
Right.
Well, now it won't.
Let's not scare people too much, though. You'll still get care.
You'll still get care, but you're going to get screwed.
You won't have an appendix burst and them lock the door on your way in.
Not
so
yet.
That's not going to happen.
Not yet. Not yet. But that's what happened to me.
I had to go in there because my appendix was about to bust.
I could say that probably, the last question you asked, Mrs. Producer, was from some left-leaning viewer, maybe, of the show. Look, here's what you don't do if you want to try and take care of people who have pre-existing conditions. You don't recreate an entire sixth of the economy to fix something that's a very small part.
It doesn't have a register, by the way.
You find ways through increased competition, interstate competition, tort reform. You find ways to fix that problem. Not everything, including all the stuff for 95% of people that wasn't broke that you've just broken.
Chris, why would they want to fix the problem? They're the federal government.
Well, they don't do it very well, do they?
No, they never have.
No.
Well, and not only that, guys, and I know I'm going to catch some heat from certain people that watch, but death panels, there are death panels in this. Who was it?
Good thing Jim Roach isn't watching.
Well, they're not called death panels.
What are they called?
It's the Human Ethics Board that decide whether it's cost efficient to give you the surgery, the quadruple bypass heart surgery, or to give you a pain pill. Which one's more cost effective because of your age and whether you are productive in society?
That's how they do it in Europe.
Exactly.
Oh, she's got the mic again.
Go ahead.
I must weigh in here because that is a very good question. When I was in the hospital with my foot after my motorcycle accident, they gave me a $528 aspirin.
Wow. Yeah, well, and I told you and you didn't do it because at that point the Affordable Health Care Act wasn't in place, and give me that. Don't do that. You should have asked for charity care because you have no income.
That thing in my face.
I'll wave it in your face.
Well,
first.
and that comes back, and you go fill out the forms. And
you go fill out the forms, but but now you can't because that's gone.
Mark Levin's producer never speaks.
And that's okay. She can talk.
Sean Hannity's does.
Sorry, just messing with you. Don't turn off my mic.
Here's the deal. I think that Kara is doing a wonderful
job
running the show.
She's doing great.
And she's gotten to the place where she can handle reading the comments to us and stuff like that. And
but if we can't harass her a little, what fun would it be?
I got to be careful because I can't afford
to pay
her.
Well, you live with her.
And she's my sister, and she can make my life hell. She knows where I sleep.
Well, here's the other thing on Obamacare that I wanted to touch on, and it's our friend Harry Reid.
Oh, now Dirty Harry's insurance just went up. His own personal insurance went up $4,500 under Obamacare. Do we really care about that? No, because he's a multimillionaire. All since he's been in the Senate, and that's a whole nother story that we discussed a few months ago. But all of his staff has been exempted from Obamacare. And his comment when pressed on this was, well, I'm not the only one who's done this. All I did was follow the law. Well, it's only the law because you made it the law, you moron. Well, not only that.
It would be the law if it weren't for you disrupting the Senate and keeping
do you remember the slush
change from happening.
No, hold on. Yeah. Do you remember me
I
bringing
only
this up?
The law.
Do you remember me bringing this up weeks ago? That the exemptions from Obamacare on the Senate representatives and their staff, that's titles of nobility.
Yeah.
That's saying that we're putting you under a law that we are not under.
Absolutely.
That's titles of nobility.
No way
that's an
happen.
Impeachable offense.
Chris, that goes back to the thing that I was just talking about earlier, is that these politicians think they're higher than their constituents.
Oh, I know.
And the leaders that think they're higher than their members. The thing is that even when we're talking about the U.S. Senate, we're talking about Congress, we're talking about local stuff, it comes down to all the way down to the local party.
Yeah.
And they think that they're bigger.
But, that was almost a head explosion moment, kind of like when I said conspiracy theorist.
Google this, because I want you to put this on screen. All right? The Congress now has a 6% approval rating.
What are those 6% thinking? They must be the congressional members and lobbyists.
Let me say this. Let me say this. Congress now has a 6% approval rating. What part of that makes them not an illegitimate government?
They've been elected, I guess, is the only legitimacy they have.
But if the vast majority, 94% of the country at this point, thinks that they should not be there, that is an illegitimate government.
But here's the thing, Matt, and here's the thing that and studies time and time again come back to this, and it's something that may be changing a little bit. But if you ask people their view of Congress as a whole, a view of Congress, they suck. They should all go. That's what we hear, right?
That's right.
But if you ask the same constituents the view of their congressman, and maybe we shouldn't use our area as an example right now, but the view of their congressman, he's doing a good job, and we should keep him. So I mean that's the kind of the problem we run into.
I understand that, but at the same point, you've got. I think I've seen one poll where Obama's now down to 32%. Majority of the polls are around 35 to 37. Yeah. Now. He's
still got several years left.
Yeah, still, at that point, when the whole of your government, when I don't know the numbers for the judicial branch, why don't you look that up? See what the approval ratings for the judicial branch are.
I bet it's over 40, but I don't know.
Yeah, look that up real quick. You got a computer right here. If the approval rating of the entire government is less than 40%. That is an illegitimate government by definition.
Well, then you vote him out, right? So why shouldn't let me ask this question: If
put that on screen real quick. I don't know what website that is.
The Examiner, Washington Examiner.
Okay, well that's a credible source.
Yeah, if Congress, if their approval rating is just 6%, right? Why wouldn't we have an entirely new Congress next year? It's because people think, oh, my guy's doing good. Oh, all the rest of those bastards, they need to go. So there's where we need educated voters to say,
is it
they're all messed up.
Wait a minute, is it that, or is it that people think, well, if I don't vote for this guy over that guy, then my vote doesn't count? Is it that the vast majority of the public is buffaloed into this idea that voting your conscience is throwing away your vote?
No, I don't think so.
I think so. Because at that point, when it comes down to it, you've got a choice between evil A or evil B or somebody who might change something. But you will know that not enough people aren't going to vote for evil or vote for the guy that might change something. So you choose the lesser of two evils, and you end up in the same position as you were. In fact, slowly getting worse.
The legislative branch falls to a record low of 36%.
36%. That's Gallup.
You said legislative.
Oh yeah, well. Yeah. No, that's old, too, because we're now down to the legislative branch.
September of 2010.
Yeah,
exactly.
That's very old.
Yeah. Kara's got something to say. Hold on.
Go ahead, Kara.
Matt, you actually have a question from a viewer. They called you out by name.
Okay.
They said, what is the choice, Matt? No government?
No, it's not no government. It's governmental reform. But before we can do that, we have to educate the people. The people are the government. And that's what we need to understand is that these people, they call them ministers in other countries for a reason. It's because if you look up the word minister, it actually means that someone gets under and lifts you up. These people are not above us. They are not officials.
Exactly.
They are public servants. And we need to educate the public to that.
A lot of
now,
people
I do think we do need far less government. Far less government.
One of the things that you keep, you're absolutely right when you keep saying that, these elected officials are not above their constituents. The thing is that the media, and not just the media, but people in general, always put these elected officials like on some kind of precipice. They put them way up here. They treat them like gods. They're on television all the time. They're in the papers, and they treat them like celebrities. And in many cases, like at my current work today, I remember maybe last year we had the mayor come in. And I remember I work in a nursing home, so everyone that was there at the time was like, oh my gosh, it's like a celebrity walking in the room. You had to have flowers in every room. You had to make sure that the place was spick and span. And everyone that I talked to that day, they said, oh my gosh, he looked at me. Oh, I couldn't say a word. I was starstruck.
No, he was just staring off into space, actually, at that point.
I'm going to be honest with you. I mean, when I first got involved in politics...
Was it sickening?
When I first got involved in politics, I remember I met a mayor, and I remember at the time I didn't know what to say to him. I was like, oh my gosh, I'm sitting at the same table with the mayor, and I couldn't believe it. And at the time...
I think we've got a caller, but I want to say
my point is that when we're looking at state representatives or state senators, we keep still to this day, we don't treat them like they work for the people. We treat them like they work. We work for them.
But there's an election.
Almost like that.
There's an election process that should be used to fix that. And
it
takes informed voters and takes people like us getting out and speaking.
They get angry when they buy drugs. They get angry when they...
Hold on, guys.
But they don't...
Hold on, guys. It comes down to it. You know what? We're not a religious show, but I will say this: the Bible gets it right here. My people perish for lack of knowledge. The problem is they look at them as celebrities because they're ill-informed and they don't understand their true role.
Right.
Now, that being said, I think we have a caller. Who's calling in? Okay. So who is it? Go ahead. Tell me who on mic. I think it's Richard Leon, Councilman Richard Leon.
Councilman Richard Leon.
All right. So do we got him on there?
Welcome, Richard.
Can you hear us, Richard?
Council member. Welcome, council member.
Hey, Matt. What's going on?
What's going on, my friend?
Hello.
I hear you. Go ahead. You're on air. Go ahead. You're on air, Richard. I think we lost him. I think we lost him. See, yeah. So anyway, when it comes down to it, it comes down to education. Where the average person does not understand the role of government in their life.
It's really disappointing.
I can say I've never seen an elected official be so brief, though, as that.
Well, that's true. And you know, we run into, you know, we've got a fairly shoestring budget, well, a very shoestring budget here. So, you know, that could have been a problem with the hardware. We'll see. Richard, if you're still watching, call back. But
so anyway, you know, I don't want to dwell on. I mean, I think I'd beaten Obamacare up enough, but the whole idea of the ratings of our Congress members and government in general, I mean, change it. You change it by electing different people. That's how you change it.
Oh,
well, now, I'm going to tie in one more topic and tell me what you think of this, guys.
Okay, go ahead.
All right, you've heard new job numbers were released yesterday that showed an unemployment number down to 7%. It's the smoke and mirror job numbers that don't take into account people leaving the workforce.
Ones that it's now come out that he fudged anyway.
Right.
Yet another scandal from the Obama administration.
But what if I told you that there's one segment of work where the unemployment number is 3.2%? Would you think that was impressive?
It depends on where it is, and I have a feeling I know, but go ahead.
It's the government sector of workers.
That's what I thought.
And
you know,
would you be impressed if I told you that in this latest jobs number that was just released of the jobs created, not that government creates anything except problems. Would you be interested if I told you that 41% of the jobs created were government sector jobs?
Why would I wouldn't be surprised.
Actually, I am very impressed. You know why? Because I am extremely impressed at how well they are destroying our real economy and absorbing it into a socialistic, really communistic at this point.
Here's
fascistic at this
Here's
point.
my theory on why there was 41% of jobs created in the government sector. It's because somebody has to create and enforce all those regulations that are killing the private sector jobs.
Well, wasn't it 16?
And that's what we're seeing.
Isn't it 16,000 IRS agents are being hired to enforce Obamacare, which they can't even really enforce until they change the law?
So I would say it's an inverse ratio. The more government jobs you create, the less private sector are going to be created because those government jobs just screw up the private sector. Yeah. How's that for a theory?
Tell me something I don't know, Chris. this is.
idea-
I know Limbaugh, but that's got to be something.
Here's the thing: we beat this like a dead horse, and we keep
No,
talking about
we
this
haven't.
over and over and over again.
We
the fact of the
haven't
matter
yet.
is that
And
we have to replace the people that are damaging the system. And the thing is that until people start getting loud enough and keep we need to start addressing the targets and not talking about an overall. Congress as overall is messed up, but we have to look at the individuals.
I'm mad as hell, and I'm not going to take it anymore. That's where we need to get.
But we need to look at the
network.
The specific representatives that are causing these problems.
Okay, I think is that Councilman Richard Leon? Okay, let's see if we can get him back on here. Councilman Richard, can you hear me now?
Yes, sir. How you doing?
Hey,
I'm
that's
all
much
right.
better.
Hey, that's a lot
there we
better.
go. All right.
How you doing?
What kind of question do you have for us?
You guys were jumping on those numbers real quick.
Okay.
The rate for the unemployment.
Okay.
So I was wondering because I just saw a new ad by Rick Scott. As a party I'm a Republican, and we've gone out and attacked Obama, how they're fake numbers, but I've noticed recently that Rick Scott has been using the same numbers, how his unemployment has gone way down. You guys have any thoughts on that?
Well, to be honest with you, I haven't really looked into Rick Scott's numbers. I would say that it's obvious that the state of Florida is doing much better than most of the country, so he may be giving real numbers. He might be faking them. I'll have to look into that, but I do know that it has come out, and it's trying to be swept under the rug at this point. That the Obama administration has come out with fake numbers several times now for the unemployment numbers.
I heard also that there was a rumor out there.
Hold on.
And what I was talking about, Richard, was the job numbers that were released yesterday. So I don't think anyone's figured out if they're fake numbers or not.
No.
But the numbers that have come out of that were the unemployment rate going down, and you have to factor in people leaving the workforce, and you have to factor in part-time versus full-time.
Chris, what he was talking about.
Well, he's still on the line. Why don't we let him explain what he's specifically talking about? Go ahead, Richard.
Well, no, I just saw an ad that Charlie Crist, raised the during his tenure, the unemployment, of course, went way up because of the economy and the way that things went down. Now, when Rick Scott took over, Governor Scott, and I'm not saying Governor Scott's a bad guy or anything. I'm just saying, how can our party sit there and attack Obama when here our governors, and this isn't just Florida, across the nation, you see numbers going down because the numbers are doing well. We're doing better than we have been in the past.
Well, I want to say quickly there, Richard. At the same time, I've heard rumors that the numbers have been skewed as far as Florida. I mean, those were just rumors, but right now it sits at 6.7%. But I have heard that rumor myself. I don't know if that's even true.
Well, here's what
trying to look it up.
Here's what's going on in the state, and here's what you don't see at the federal level. You see the state actively going out and pursuing businesses, actively going out and deepening ports to bring in more trade and reduce jobs. You don't see any of this going on. You just see increased regulation at the federal level, and you just see continued, as I just threw out there, job creation being at the government employee level of 41% of the jobs created in this jobs report that just came out.
Let me put it out there this way, because I think the question, if I'm not mistaken here, Richard, is, are we going to be fair if it comes out that the numbers are skewed with Florida as well? And I would say absolutely.
Sure.
There is no love lost between me and the Republican Party. I think I've made that clear since the start of the show. I have no qualms about going after whoever is corrupt in this government, and therefore, if I will have to look into it. And next week, if I find out, if I find out that the numbers are skewed,
I got the numbers right here.
I know you do, but I don't know that source.
Well,
so
this is FloridaGov.com. This is
okay. Well, then
basically during the month of June, 2,300 private sector jobs were added for a total of 333,000 private sector jobs created since December of 2010. Now, this is just a fact, but at the same time, how the numbers have been manipulated over the
Well,
months.
that's the question. And that's the
Guys,
question.
this is Lisa.
Oh, go ahead, Lisa. I knew you'd be talking
Hey,
at
listen,
some point.
I've been trying to get in. I've really been trying because I know you keep trying to address this one at Richard here, but he's been using my phone since his phone died. I heard something to the effect that really had something to do with initially the unemployment was 99 weeks. And then something changed with that, and that's what made the numbers actually change was because of those 99
Yeah,
weeks.
what's happened is they increased unemployment to 99 weeks, and now they're constricting it. And once you drop off of unemployment rolls,
weeks. Wow.
yeah, once you drop off of unemployment rolls, you're now no longer considered part of the workforce, and therefore you dropping off of the unemployment rolls actually lowers unemployment rates that way because
doesn't
it's
mean
a
you've got a
shrinking of the
job. It
workforce.
just means you're
no
off
longer
the
counted.
numbers.
Well,
You know-
it looks like Florida's doing so much better. It's because they changed those numbers.
Well, no, that's a
not the
federal
numbers.
thing.
No, that's a
Lisa.
federal thing.
Yeah, that's a
that's a
federal
federal
thing.
And I don't think there's. I mean, you live here, Richard. You live here. We all live here in Florida. I mean, is there any doubt that Florida's economy's improved in the last couple of years since Charlie Crist
I
is
would
gone
say, yeah.
and the economy's? I mean, and would any
Slowly.
of you, would you or Richard, either one of you, say that the state was better run and doing better under Charlie Crist than it is currently?
You still there?
Yeah, we're here.
Okay.
We're just thinking about the answer.
I'm not saying it hasn't. The people's governor, as they like to call him.
Do me a favor, guys. Get off speakerphone. It's hard to understand you when you're on speakerphone. But
Yeah, I didn't catch what you said.
yeah, when it comes down to it, the 99 weeks thing, like we said, is a federal issue. Now, like I said, I'm going to look into the to the state numbers and see if there's a possibility.
I want to say quickly that we need to bring back the depression rate because I mean a lot of people are not talking about the overall back in the time when Carter was in office and when Reagan took over. There was this rate that they talked about. I think it was called the depression rate or something like that, where the people were actually, they would rate how people really feel in their own economy. And the fact of the matter is that we are losing. I mean, we were not in the same economy we were back in 2007. So the fact of the matter is that all these people are on unemployment right now, and they haven't switched over. I mean, either they're unemployment or they have no income at all. If they have no income at all, they're not being calculated into the unemployment numbers. And a lot of these people are rather probably pissed off.
Well, and
so
not
the
only
fact
that,
is they need to rate these people and actually put them in some kind of poll because
the
people are
unemployment-
completely clueless right
the
now.
unemployment numbers, the way that is calculated, we look at the U3 number is the one that they're always talking about. The U6 number, I haven't looked at it a while, but last time I looked at it, it was somewhere around 14 to 16%, and that's the one that actually accounts for people that are no longer on the rolls, and it's the one that's actually right up there, almost on par with the Great Depression. And that's the national number. Again, I'll look into the state. But the one you definitely want to pay attention to is the U6 number.
But if you want to compare what we have for unemployment numbers compared to the U.S., the federal number, I mean, the federal unemployment number right now sits at 7.0%. That's what it says on this screen from the.
That's the numbers that were released yesterday.
Okay, and then this is right now Florida sitting at 6.6%.
Here's what I want to see, and I don't know that there's any study
And
out there right
thanks
now.
for the
that-
call, guys.
Yeah, and I don't know that there's any study out there right now that shows any of this or all of this, maybe none of this. Maybe you got to put it all together. But in order to know if the economy is really going in the right direction or not, I want to see of jobs created, how many were part-time and how many were full-time.
Right.
I want to see how many. I want to know how many people are underemployed. Did you take a job at McDonald's flipping burgers when you were a college-educated with a master's degree person? How many people have dropped off unemployment rolls versus got a job, and then how many jobs were private versus public sector, or private versus public sector. You add all that stuff together, and you're going to come up with a formula that's going to tell you if we're going in the right direction or not. And I don't know there's anything that actually puts that all in one place, but there should be.
Well, like I said, the best unemployment number to look at is the U6 number because it's the only one that even comes close to talking about the entirety of the unemployed people that are actually eligible for work. It's still skewed, obviously, but it's far less skewed, and that's why you never hear about it in the media. When it comes down to unemployment, though, you also need to look at things like inflation, because that inflation is going to have a lot to do with unemployment. Because the more the currency gets inflated, the harder it is to do business. To be honest with you,
I know we're.
And we got a computer going here.
And stay tuned for the commercial break. Go ahead, guy. I know Rick had
No, I was just
else
looking at an article, and then all of a sudden the audio jumped in. But it just says, I read the headline. It says the media is beginning to turn on Obama.
Well, to a point it is, and that was my
for a while.
That was my point about them coming out and calling Obama a dictator. And I want to be clear, Obama is not the dictator, and I've said this a couple times, even this show. It's the office itself that's becoming a dictatorship. The executive branch is overtaking the government, and this is exactly what the Constitution was intended to keep from happening. It's intended to prevent this. But, and as I said when I was talking about Nelson Mandela, this is why this is a very dangerous time for America, because more and more people are going to be fed up. We've got to get the reins pulled in on this executive branch. So... with that, guys, I think it's about time to sign off.
I want to, before we sign off, throw one thing out there, and we'd be remiss if we didn't bring this up today. I'm going to read something real quick, and it's only a paragraph. And here goes. And this is from, I'm just going to read it, then I'll tell you who it's from. At first, we didn't realize it was a bombing. It didn't mean anything to us until a large group of planes came near the ship and we could see for the first time the rising sun emblem on the plane wings. The bombing was becoming heavier all around us, and we knew this was really it. And that was written by George Prainer, who served aboard the USS Arizona and was there during the attack on Pearl Harbor, which happened today in 1941.
Yep.
And so it's a good time to say thank you to all the men and women who serve our country, and to have a moment of respect for the people who lost their lives on that day in Pearl Harbor. And so I just wanted to throw that out there.
Well, absolutely. And guys, I know I take a stance, a hard stance. Yeah, I take a hard stance on constitutional values of the military, and therefore sometimes it seems like I might be anti-military, but I'm really not. I'm very pro people that serve. I'm very anti-leadership taking advantage of the military. And so, yeah, I do want to make a heartfelt thank you to those not only that served them and put their lives on the line, but the people that are serving now.
Anyone who's ever served.
Anybody who's ever served. So you've done your country a great service. Whether or not the orders that you've had to follow are right or not, you deserve great thanks. So thank you much. And with that, I think we're going to sign off. Guys, have a great day.